Okay, we're going to walk through the final stage now of our booklet assignment. We're going to get this thing ready to print. So if you have your pages all lined out the way you want to and they all look good, one thing you might want to check is to make sure that you don't have any imagery kind of covering up your page numbers. If you want to change the typeface that you've used on your page numbers, you can adjust that up in the master setting. But if you look here, this object is in front of the page number, so I'm going to want to send that to the back. So if I option click on it, I'm sorry, control click on it, and I say arrange, I can go over here and say send to back, and that'll kick that all the way to the back for me, and that ought to clear up my where my page numbers are going to print and let me see them. So then once I get this all set and my pages are all ready to roll and it looks good, so this is obviously a demo, not my masterpiece, I would just go ahead and go up here and get it ready to print. So if you want, you can zoom out so you can see all your pages. Hit Commands minus, and that'll let you zoom out a little bit so you can kind of scroll through your pages. So this is going to be my cover. This is going to be my page 2, 3. So what I want to do is I want to figure out how to print it. If I just send this to the printer now, it's gonna it won't kick it out in a way that we can fold it up and staple it or bind it somehow and make it look good. So what we're going to want to do for this is we're going to want to go to up here to File, Print, and you can see there are all these options. You have packaging, you have print presets. There's ways to pre-flight this that we can talk about later. But what we probably want to go ahead and do for this one is go to Print Booklet. And if you click on that, the Print Booklet setup is going to give me a whole bunch of options here, right? And so I want to go ahead and print all of my ranges, right? And then I want to make sure I have selected the 2-up saddle stitch, which will kind of let me, it'll print it out and it'll let it make it so that way I can staple it right in the center as I put the pages together. You probably don't want to play around with any of these. You can mess with creep if you're using really thick paper, but probably don't mess with it until you print it out once. And what I want to do now is I want to go ahead and go to my print settings, because print settings is going to tell which printer I'm using as well as which size paper. So you want to make sure you have your printer selected. You want to make sure you have our secure print printer selected for those multifunction printers that are in the lab. And as you scroll down here, you'll be able to see all the options, right? So if we go to setup, we want to make sure we have our tabloid paper size selected, which is 11 by 17. You don't want to be doing this on letter unless you're printing a really tiny little booklet, which you could do. There's also executive and legal, but I think we want to select tabloid. Make sure your orientation is landscape here instead of portrait. I would also go to the marks and the bleed section, and I would make sure that you have the crop marks selected. That's going to let you know. It's going to print this, my 8x8 book, out on a big piece of paper, and it really helps if I know where to kind of chop it and where to cut it out. So go ahead and select the crop marks. I wouldn't mess around with the bleed marks or any of that stuff. I would just leave crop marks. You can click through here if you want to mess around with the color printing, like when it goes to print, if it doesn't print right the first time, you can try and fix that. If you want to play around with any of these things, there's all these options that are embedded in here that you can mess around with. But once you get it pretty well set, you get your pages right, just click OK on that. And if you go to preview, you'll see that we have a preview of what page 1 is going to look like. So it's going to kick out our booklet, and you can see that the front and the back are correctly aligned. So if I fold this, this will be the front, that'll be the back. You can see here I have these crop marks, which will help me know where to cut this thing down. And then this is what it'll print like on a big piece of paper. And if I want, I can scroll through to all 4 pages. That's the front and the back of each of all 4, and it'll help me see kind of what they look like, right? So once I have this all set and everything is ready to go, I can go ahead and click print on that, and it'll send it, and it'll go and take you through all the normal steps that you would expect, and that'll help you get your booklet printed out. So with any luck, as long as we have the settings right, make sure you go into the MFP printer and tell it you want to make sure that you're printing on heavy-duty paper, all that kind of thing. If you have messages like this about fonts being missing, you might want to go in and fix those typefaces with your, in the type kind of settings and make sure you have the right things downloaded. But it's going to try and print this thing now. It'll take forever. So that's how you print basically in this software program. I hope that helps somewhat. Let's give that a try and see what you guys get. And remember, you probably want to try proofing it once before you're done with it in the end.